Yeah, a record company, a friend of ours who knows both, Tim Dubois, had started Arista here, which Clive Davis, of course, had big Arista with Whitney Houston and all the acts that he discovered. But he wanted a country label, so he got Tim to do it. Tim had already signed a boy singer, Alan Jackson, so he didn't want another solo male artist, but he knew about me and Ronnie both, and basically convinced us to see if we couldn't write a song together. And we wrote a Brand New Man and Next Broken Heart that week we met, and brought him back, and he kind of offered us a record deal at that point.
But it's interesting, just to step back a couple steps. It's like when Tim was putting the label together with Clyde, I mean, he went down the list methodically. We didn't know it at the time. Looking back, it was like a cookie cutter process. Like Kick said, he had a solo guy, he had a group, he had a female artist, and then he was looking for a duo. Now, we both were thinking we were vying for solo spots at the time.
Yeah.
I think that's old news to some people. And so he got me a gig at Sony ATV Publishing as a writer for, I think it was like maybe $400 or $600 a month.
Man,
Yeah.
getting a lot more than I was.
so we kind of so John and June, Johnny Cash and his wife June were friends with my wife from back in Oklahoma, and he called and gave us a cabin to live in up on a mountain outside town. So I'm thinking, he goes, no rent, we'll just do it for free while you kind of see if you're going to survive here.
Yeah.
And so we had $600 a month and free rent. So I was motivated to write songs.
Yeah.
So the first two guys he introduced me to were Kix and a buddy of his, Don Cook. But he took us individually into his office and played me Kix's stuff. He says, "What do you think of that?" I thought, it's progressive by country standards at the time. I said, it's kind of got a cool West Coast vibe. And then he played some stuff that I had written to Kix, and I think we were both kind of going, I'm not sure what we're listening to. Or, I'm thinking he was putting us together to write. Sure enough, he was, because he knew that the cornerstone for survival in any business on a legitimate basis has been able to write songs and come up with your own material.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it worked. Odd enough, I've told this story, and Kix will appreciate it. But Kix and Don Cook, our first producer, have been writing for a long time. Don's a successful songwriter too. And I had never co-written like that, like showed up, get your pen and paper out and write. I remember we wrote Brand New Man was first, and then the second one, or is it the opposite?
No, you're right.
Yeah, and then working on my Next Broken Heart, which is a country show, pretty simple, straightforward. But I remember going home and telling Janine, I guess I was having a low blood sugar moment. I said, I don't think we're going to make it here. And, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm just, it's just me, Mr. Negative. I don't know. That didn't sound like a hit. Sure enough, they both became number one hits right after that. So,
yeah. And did you ever have? Well, I mean, I guess that partly answers it. But one of the things I was really curious about was when you first got together and made that first album, just become such a smash, like immediately out of nowhere. How did that feel after, like in the 80s, you had some successes, but, it was a lot of hard work and not as much of a reward as like immediately 4 #1 singles and a huge album.
Well, there's nothing like failure to motivate you to try to succeed if you don't give up. And then I say this all the time, even tell my kids this, hunger is a terrific motivator. So we were motivated to work at it, and don't know, really, didn't know when to quit, still don't.
Ronnie really, he's saying, just put some serious fire into that Brand New Man song. I was excited about the song, and he came up with the first "I Saw the Light Was Baptized," those lines, which were unique because he had not been in Nashville and drained himself of all his ideas. He still had some unique melodies and whatever. So when he first threw that out, I think "Changed Man" was the hook that he had, and I suggested maybe "Brand New Man." But the genesis of that was really different, and that was him. And then the vocal on it was just he sang. That's when I first realized, man, this guy's really got some. He's got some chops, but. That's part of having a group around you, because I remember when we played that for the Arista team, you know, their promotion people and whatever, they're all just going, holy crap, but they're not going, holy crap, because they have to, like, I've seen that at record labels before too. They're kind of going, holy crap, that's so good. You know, what are we going to do with this? It wasn't like that. It was like they're jumping up and down, running around the room. I'm like, man, okay, this is excitement.
It was a cool time.
Yeah.
It was a brand new label with brand new young people, and it was like being at a high school football game. Everything we all did, even in the office, we go hang out up there. You know, just show up and hang. Just what we do. We'd end up talking, hanging with somebody, doing promo, and it was really a fun time. I don't know that we were ever. This is negative me again. I think everyone just kind of baby stepped into the process, because we did that record as almost a demo in the Sony demo studio for like $35,000 or something.
Nothing doing it. We just cut it like we cut stuff.
Yeah.
Just the musicianship and the vocals.
Yeah.
They carry it.
It was
like a big budget.
No, it was raw. There was no, like, we didn't have time or the budget. In fact, we didn't even know what a budget was. I don't know who was watching it. Somebody was paying for it. Anyway, we ended up coming up with, what, 10, 11, 12 songs. And the first 4 were #1 hits at radio, which, you know, the commercial market propels you forward.
We were short on belief individually and as a team. I mean, I don't think either one of us really believed in the concept of putting us together, not knowing each other. At our age, we were adults at the time, not 20-year-old kids, and the chance that this is going to run 20 years just didn't make any sense.
So how old were you at that time?
I was 36 and Ronnie was 38.
Wow.
So you don't
do the math on that.
Yeah, you're not going to go.
You're
not going to go.
I'm very slow anyway.
Yeah, you're not going to go.
Well, it was 38 when they got a record.
And have the career we did at that point. So we're thinking, okay, we had a hit. This could go a year or two or whatever. But the point I was going to make was, I really felt like when we made that record, we were really having some fun and cutting stuff we wanted to cut. The record company wasn't saying you got to do this and you got to do that. And
nobody came in and told us what to do. We were just kind of
alone
turned
in the
loose. That's another thing that
studio,
kind of freaked us out. We thought maybe they don't care.
we weren't worried about how loud the guitars were or the solos or anything. We did cut it like a demo. It's like, this is what we like. And so I think we were good with the record. We didn't feel like we'd done it for reasons other than, hell, I don't know you, but let's make some music, let's do the best we can, which also has some good energy, because I think both of us were trying to show the other one we did have some chops. You know, whatever way it was, we had some knowledge of what we were doing, and we were learning about each other, our history, everything about it. There was a cool kind of energy and I think that's why we survived on stage too. I think it was a bit of a NASCAR race. You know, people figure there's got to be a good wreck here at some point. You know, we keep watching. You know, and anyway, it worked out for quite a while.
And when did you guys first perform together? Did you cut the record first before doing any live gigs?
Yeah. And we performed at the record labels. Once they sign an act, they'll do a showcase. So they put a little club downtown, and people doing it. And we rehearsed, for what, 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And ran out and did 7 or 8 songs, baby.
Threw a band together, went and banged it out.
Yeah.
And did you find that? What was the bigger challenge initially, or did you just kind of? It sounds like you were just kind of taking every step as it.
We did and nothing's changed today.
Yeah, and I wasn't that worried about it. It was just it was in a bar, down at Ace of Clubs, if I remember. Mm-hmm. It's a little bar. Everybody's packed in. Everybody's fired up. Everybody's half drunk, and they were curious. And I think we did as good as we could. Probably shrugged our shoulders and went, "That's about the best we can do, considering we've never done it. We haven't really rehearsed. These are new songs, and we'll see what happens."
We're thinking it's going to be a train wreck from day one, and again, I'm not sure that's changed.
Well,
it's
not so sure, but
stumble through the system, and you'll have to end up here. I don't know, man. Don't question it. Just keep going.
And throughout the 90s, you had so many successful records. What are some of your favourite deep cuts from albums in the 90s, like tracks that people wouldn't hear on greatest hits compilations?
I was always attracted and still am to like really kind of more traditional country. There was one of the first record called "I've Got a Lot to Learn."
Gosh, I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
When it comes.
But we fought so hard thinking and went to put it out as a single. Of course, the radio wouldn't go for it. They went for it, but not. They had to work
Did
for
we?
it.
Was that a single?
I think so. Yeah.
I know we played it a
one
lot.
that Dean
I
and
don't think
I
it
wrote.
was ever a single.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's it. Those kinds of songs. I've got a lot to learn.
we still play. I had a song called, and Ronnie sang most of the singles. So, when we do the show, I'll pull out some things sometimes. She likes to get out of town. A guy came up to me in the airport the other day. Goes, "Hey man, I just saw y'all. He said, I've been wanting to see you ever since. I thought I'd never get the chance." He goes, "One of my favorite songs. She likes to get out of town." He goes, "I never thought I'd hear you guys play it. You played it live at one of these shows we did recently." So it's kind of fun to hear. But I think we had, there was some like "Long Goodbye." That was a single though, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
There was another song on that was kind of like that on that album. I remember it was kind of a
More contemporary.
kind of sounding stuff. I don't know. We need to go back and listen. We were in Fredericksburg shooting a video for something. We had a few albums out at the time, and Ronnie and I had to kill some time in between shots on this video. We went in this little gift shop thing, where they sell turquoise rings and that kind of stuff. And they recognized us and put on one of our albums. And I looked at him and went, "That's me singing, but I swear I don't remember that song." and we sat down on a bench and listened to that whole album. I'm like, "God, you remember that?" He goes, "No." I go, "Did you write that?" He goes, "I don't know." It's so funny. It just blurs.
So many things.
It does. It blurs by you. And we were just going so fast. It's like write songs, record songs, go shoot videos, photo shoots. Albums coming out, award show, and it's just
Like a roller coaster.
It is. You just turn around and go, "Whoa, what happened?"
Yeah. And as such accomplished songwriters, does it ever kind of, do you ever get resentful of the fact that your cover of My Maria is such like a big, if you go on Spotify, for example, that's like in your top 5
I'll let
most
Ronnie
played
answer
songs.
that.
Not resentful in any way. Going in, I was a bit apprehensive because we had
You haven't done a cover.
done a cover song.
Understatement.
Yeah.
And B, the lyrics were written kind of in that freeform, rock way. I want to say what impressionistic
Yeah.
way. So there was.
They.
BW had written it. So, I kept going back going, "What's it saying? I don't know what it says," but that's fine. But we had been getting also input from record labels, stuff like that. I would take songs in and they would go, "I don't think the audience is going to understand what they're saying." But it's really kind of about the vibe. You don't have to really spell out a story.
True.
So here in Nashville, in the country music genre, obviously you're expected to write in what do I say?
More literal terms.
Very, very literal and descriptive, stories and
Yeah.
stuff. And so My Maria was a departure from that.
Yeah.
And I was apprehensive.
I mean, I think it's really what you bring to the song musically.
We both sang the song in bars coming up, and knew BW and loved it. And I think, and Cook actually came up with the idea, and I'm just when he brought it up, I'm like, "Oh man, Ronnie can sing the shit out of that." But then we had written everything up until that point, and Ronnie's like, "I don't want to start doing cover songs," and I'm like, "I get it, but it's not really taking care of business or something that everybody knows." It was kind of a regional hit more. And
It was.
it really fell into our whole vibe of what we were doing, our image and whatever. It just seemed like maybe a good call.
For what it's worth, we always had this visual thing of the like southwestern imagery, out west in the desert and things like that. So it fit right in with that. And I had gone to school in Abilene, Texas, and that's when I was aware of it. Listened to it all the time.
That's a great
I think short answer to your question is we both still love playing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great melody, and you
And
guys
really-
did a better version than the BW version, so.
This sounds kind of whatever, but I got to admit, even playing now, you know, in Vegas and whatever, you look down at the set list and what's coming up next, and it always kind of gives me a smile. I still like playing these songs, singing these songs. I feel
Well,
like,
that's always
I know,
what you
know,
want to hear, isn't it?
whatever we came up with is kind of won pretty well.
It's a long night if you don't like what you're doing.
Yeah.
So at the end of the 90s, like, so, because obviously you had a lot to overcome with the amount of work that you put in the 80s, and then finally get all this huge success throughout the 90s. At the end of the 90s, it's probably still like a massive seller album with a Tightrope at 99. And that was like not an album that stacked up like compared to the other albums, which were all multi-platinum. And I read that you guys thought about, you know, maybe calling it a day then, but you persevered on advice of the label, and then you had another decade full of like really successful albums.
I look at it as a period where we were kind of left unkept. Everyone at the label, it was in the process of being sold or absorbed by Sony. This was Arista that we were on. It was absorbed by Sony. So you would go back up to that level we talked about that was so rah fun and open and in the beginning, and every door would be shut in the promo guy's office because they're all in there like really looking for jobs. So it all changed, and so we got scattered and unfocused. We lost that back team support that we felt like we needed.
Our records, Ronnie had been with Scott Hendricks, who is at Warner Brothers now.
Scott was.
Came with him. Don Cook had come with me, like he was talking about. And Don and I worked together a lot. So Scott was kind of Ronnie's guy in our whole four-man process of making music. And Scott got the job at Capitol Records, was hired to run Capitol. So Ronnie was kind of lost with, back with me and Don, and he sort of didn't have a guy at that point, and went with Byram Gallimore, who I also loved, was producing Tim and Faith's records and stuff at the time.
But I was searching to
Do something
upgrade the sound.
different.
I mean, technology had moved forward too, and we'd been cutting basically analog records and trying to move forward that way. And Byron was making great sounding records at the time.
Yeah.
And the songwriting thing was always frustrating because you hear all these people all over town getting pitched songs, and we would never get pitched songs. And I thought,
Why was that?
I think it was a part. I don't know, but I mean, one theory is that maybe it was a bit of an internal conspiracy to make us write all our stuff.
We're writers just thinking we're writing our own songs, so they're more inclined
There's
to
that.
pitch them to George Strait and Tim
People
and
who
Faith
don't.
and people
Yeah.
that weren't writing their own songs.
That's just.
It's a great thing that you guys have written. So.
Yeah, the politics of songwriting. I saw a special on the Everly Brothers just a few weeks back, and they said that once they lost Felice and Boudreaux, the whole thing kind of caved in on them. They didn't have that songwriting support like that. So I don't know. We were our own songwriters.
And one of the biggest songs after that period which you overcame, one of the biggest songs after that was "Only in America." And interestingly, that was used for different political campaigns. That really shows you that's an amazing thing, like to write a song that people of different beliefs can like identify with. Is that a song that makes you proud? Is that something that makes you proud?
Sure. It's funny, Don Cook and I actually were out at my farm four-wheeler one day and just had this patriotic conversation. I said, okay, let's write that. You don't have to. It was interesting because 9/11 came after that. It doesn't have to be some major. A war doesn't have to be going on to talk about loving your country. And so we did. We just kind of got corny, and we had it about half done. And it was funny because Joe Galante came back to RCA after Arista was consumed by RCA and met with Ronnie and I and asked us if because we were talking about, man, are we done or what, and have we run out of gas, or we creatively bankrupt, as someone said. And Joe says, man, make a record for me. He goes, please, I just got back to RCA. He goes, I love you guys. And he pitched us his song. We had a bunch of songs on that album, but he pitched us this song, Nothing About You. So he said, would you please come in and cut this for me? And we go, yeah, it's a cool song. And so I went up to my, being the songwriter where I am, ran up to my hotel room and finished Only in America, and came down in our dressing room before we flew. We were in Vegas, flew back to Nashville to record, and played it for Ronnie. And he said, man, it's better than anything I got right now. I said, well, you want to sing it? He goes, yeah, sure. And so we cut those two songs. And Nothing About You was 6 weeks at #1. And then Only in America was the second. And then when 9/11 happened, it kind of took on a life of its own as well.
Yeah, and so much more success, and right up to today, where you guys have just released a new album and collaborated with a bunch of different artists on it. What was that experience like? To revisit old songs as well?
It's fun.
It was easy.
And how did it come about, and how did you choose the artists?
Our manager actually brought us the idea, and there were some artists before he actually brought us the whole concept. Luke Combs had sent a posted branding man, like was playing acoustic guitar with two of his band guys, and Ronnie actually sent me Casey Musgraves, who's doing Neon Moon, and our manager said, I think there could be a project here. There's a lot of young acts that really respect you guys, and we're like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then he came back a few weeks later with the whole kind of lineup, and that was that. And it's, it's interesting because we were always, you're always nervous and desperate is kind of a good word, but when you go to record a song that you've written, especially a song that you really think's a hit, you don't want to screw it up, and there's a lot of pushing and pulling and doing things and working with it, and taking them home, and overdubs, and just trying to get it right. And we really didn't have that pressure here. We wanted it to be great, but Dan Huff, he makes things great off the cuff to start out with. And the other thing, they were already hits.
Yeah, you know that the people will love them.
You don't know that, but at least that part's been done.
Yeah.
These songs have been successful, so now let's have some fun and cut these things and meet some new people and see what that's about. It was just a different kind of experience, which didn't have the pressure factor to it.
That's great. Well, I've got two more questions for you. The first is, because this is a series called Greatest Artists and Musicians of All Time, who in the country, world made you guys want to become musicians? Who are some of your favourite artists of all time? And then also not country artists.
Yeah, I would go Merle Haggard, and listened a lot to Emmylou Harris, her band. They were really innovative, kind of rock oriented. They took country to a really cool place. I thought, real good. And Emmylou for sure, and Merle. And then on the other end of the spectrum, it would be like the Stones, Clapton, Bonnie Raitt. Tulsa really young Russell was, so they were bringing people through like Cocker and all this stuff, Denny Cordell, Shelter Records. So they're really turning up the soul
Russell's
factor.
very underrated.
Oh, yeah.
Way underrated. Yeah.
He was brilliant.
Yeah.
I think from a contemporary aspect, we have very much almost identical influences. He was around Tulsa when all that was going on and everything, but I was totally into Will Zell and Ramsey Leon Russell was one of my musical heroes. I had all his music.
Then he set me down and then tell me about how he signed down Will Zell and Ramsey.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's all cool. It's sort of bust your groove, but it's cool.
But as a kid, Johnny Cash and Hank Williams Sr., were really, and Roger Miller. I can just remember those are the guys. Those are the songs when I was 10, 11 years old that I was learning all those songs. And again, I think both of us, I love. I grew up working for my dad in the shop, working on trucks and stuff, and all those truck drivers. Merle Haggard was Lord. Haggard and Jones, but more Haggard, and we certainly had. And those guys were super cool for me. Bulldozer operators and big truck drivers, and they all worshiped Haggard. And when I got here, I really had a better understanding of just how good he was, and how cool he was. But it was all kind of West Coast stuff. And again, for me, Texas and whatever, we were on that side of the Mississippi. You know, it wasn't so much about the Grand Ole Opry and whatever, as far as how I was influenced. You know, we didn't get that radio signal.
We're influenced more, less by, I guess, Appalachian music,
Yeah.
banjos and fiddles, and Buck Owens and Telecasters
Right.
that were turned up and popping it, pushing it as far as they could in country on the rock side.
And that helped you guys develop your own sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, in my hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana, they had the Louisiana Hayride. So when Cash kicked out the lights at the Grand Ole Opry and they banned him for a while, you know, he went to the Hayride, and Hank Williams died, you know, living in Shreveport. Johnny Horton, I mean, and Elvis, you know, was shunned at the at the Opry. He wound up on the Hayride. You know, so it was kind of Opry light, you know, but at the same
It's
time,
a tad more progressive.
it was, and they didn't care if you raised hell. You know, it wasn't like, it really wasn't built on that kind of bluegrass Appalachian sort of mentality.
Jerry Lee Lewis was perfect.
He was, exactly. And grew up not too far in Faraday yet.
well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to be included in this series, and congratulations on such a wonderful career.
Thanks. Pretty crazy. It's just weird.